Modern readers typically approach ancient scripture through a lens of supernatural literalism. We expect to find tales of magical curses, heroes with impossible powers, and animals that speak in human tongues. While archaeologists meticulously dig through the earth for physical evidence of the past, the structural data within the texts often goes ignored. By categorizing these accounts as folklore, the sophisticated intelligence baked into their organization remains hidden. The Arabic initials Ta, Sin, and Mim preface chapters 26, 27, and 28 of the Quran. These characters stand as an anomaly, appearing as a modular set in an otherwise narrative-heavy section of the text. Viewed through the internal logic of the text, these letters function as algorithmic preambles. They act as a header for a specific module of data, a series of chapters dedicated to the mechanics of functional governance. Approaching these characters as a sociological code transforms the scripture into a technical manual. It provides a framework for analyzing how a society maintains its equilibrium. To test this framework, we must first define the specific variables established by the letters Ta, Sin, and Mim. Ta represents equilibrium, functioning according to its design without corruption. Sin represents regulatory authority, the law and data flow maintaining order. Mim identifies the manifestation, where abstract principle and regulatory signal embody a clear outcome. Under this formula, a society's physical reality is the direct output of its internal signal. The stability of the manifestation depends entirely on the purity of the principles and the integrity of the authority regulating them. The first case study for this Ta-Sin-Mim code is the confrontation between Moses and the Pharaoh. The text positions Moses as the carrier of the Ta, the pure, uncorrupted signal. He stands in opposition to the Pharaoh, who represents a sin, an authority that has become volatile and disconnected from systemic equilibrium. An authority that detaches itself from the standard of quality cannot sustain its own weight. The massive, entrenched structures of the Egyptian state represent a system operating on a corrupted signal. The result is the manifest collapse of the system. Pharaoh's authority fails because it lacks the necessary equilibrium to produce a lasting, beneficial outcome. This narrative serves as a systemic audit. It demonstrates how a stable truth eventually outlasts a volatile tyranny by the very nature of its structural integrity. In Surah 27, the Mim is omitted, leaving only the Ta-Sin header. Without the Mim, the manifestation, the focus shifts to the interface between equilibrium and authority. This chapter explores the management of a state's internal data stream before it results in a physical outcome. The account of Solomon describes him understanding the speech of birds. The term used, al-Tayyid, is derived from the root tyr, describing swift movement. Systemically, this refers to high-speed intelligence scouts or cavalry units, rather than literal animals. Similarly, the community of al-Naml, traditionally translated as ants, shares a root with terms for a densely populated, highly structured social group. Solomon's hearing represents the advanced processing of socio-political data from these communities. When a scout delivers a report, Solomon does not react with emotion. He executes a data audit. We will see whether you were truthful or were of the liars. He maintains the purity of his state by verifying the integrity of the incoming signal. Solomon's administration represents an optimized system. A sustainable state relies on the continuous regulatory authority of verified, uncorrupted intelligence. These chapters form a unified policy brief on the mechanics of societal turnover. They move from the historical reports of the past to the active, strategic requirements of governance. They map the Sunan Allah, the fixed laws that govern the rise and fall of nations. These laws operate on the same predictable logic, regardless of the era. This systemic approach demands an evaluation of current political leadership. It asks whether the signal moving through a modern society is pure or fundamentally corrupted. The long-term survival of any governing body depends on whether its authority is grounded in the stability of truth. Raw power cannot sustain an empire indefinitely. Any authority disconnected from its own systemic purity is destined to reach its point of failure.